Distinguished delegates, I urge you to regain your seats, please, so we can start our debate. Distinguished representatives, I declare open the second plenary meeting. Today we will continue the consideration of Agenda Item 7, the general debate. States are invited, in accordance with Rule 50 of the Rules of Procedure of the Assembly, to deliver statements of no longer than 5 minutes. Pursuant to the Bureau decision taken on 7 September 2022, the general debate is scheduled to take place this afternoon and tomorrow in the morning and in the afternoon. Given the experience from recent sessions, the modalities of holding the general debate include the pre-recorded videos or in-person statements. States in a position to do so are invited to submit written statements only, which would be posted on the website of the Assembly. Further to the Bureau decision, dated 2 September 2022, all in-person general debate speakers in a respective category would be given precedence. The statements via pre-recorded videos would follow. The updated list of speakers can be found at the conference officer's desk. Let us proceed immediately with our first speaker, His Excellency Mr. Jan Lipavsky, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, who will speak on behalf of the European Union. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Madam President, I am honored to address the Assembly of States Parties on behalf of the European Union and its members. The candidate countries, Republic of Albania, Montenegro, Republic of North Macedonia, Republic of Moldova, Republic of Serbia, and the country of the Stabilization and Association Process and potential candidate, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and the EFTA country, Kingdom of Norway, member of the European Economic Area, as well as Principality of Andorra, align themselves with this statement. In this capacity, I would like to express our thanks to the Presidents of the Assembly, the President of the Court, the Prosecutor, and the Deputy Prosecutors, and congratulate them on the important work done during the last year. We assure them of our steadfast support. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Registrar, Mr. Peter Lewis, for his time at the ICC and express appreciation for his tireless effort towards the effective functioning of the Court. We commend his outstanding work. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the entry into force of the Rome Statute, we reiterate our unwavering support for the Court as an independent and impartial judicial institution. We review our commitment to the Rome Statute and will uphold, defend and promote its principles and values. The atrocities that we continue to witness all around the world and now in Europe as a consequence of Russia's military aggression against Ukraine must strengthen our determination to end impunity for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community as a whole. The European Union and its member states highly value the Court's achievements. All situations where the most serious crimes of concern to the international community appear to have been committed deserve our utmost attention. Now, ongoing investigations cover almost all regions of the world. We are convinced that ICC, in line with the principle of complementarity, will bring justice to victims everywhere. We commend progress made in the review of the International Criminal Court and the Rome Statute system. These important works give us the possibility to strengthen the Rome Statute system and make the court more efficient and effective. We encourage the ICC and state parties to continue engaging in the review and prioritization of the assessment of the recommendations of the independent experts and to continue considering their implementation while preserving the integrity of the Rome Statute and respecting the prosecutorial and judicial independence of the court. We place particular importance on promoting good governance and a healthy work culture that ensures inclusion and gender equality. We underline the importance of equitable geographical distribution as well as representation of the principal legal systems of the world, which all reflects the global nature of the court. The respect and promotion of multilingualism is also essential both for effective communication and the respect of the right to a fair trial. Madam President, the international criminal justice system relies heavily on the cooperation of states. The Rome Statute, in its Chapter 9, imposes obligations for states parties to cooperate with the ICC. We urge all states to lend the necessary assistance to the ICC so that it can carry out its mandate effectively, independently, and impartially. Various forms of voluntary cooperation, such as the relocation of witnesses, enforcement of sentences, and interim and final release of detained persons, are also essential to ensure the efficient functioning of the court. The increase in the court's workload requires increased and sustainable resources. In this respect, we are deeply concerned by the high amount of arrears and late payments to the budget, which significantly endangers the work of the ICC. The court must be resourced sufficiently and on a sustainable basis in order to achieve the purpose and objectives for which it was established. We therefore urge all states parties to provide the ICC with the necessary financial resources and to fulfill their obligation to pay their annual contribution in full and on time. This year, following the request of the ICC prosecutor of 7 March calling for exceptionally voluntary contributions, the European Union and its member states have provided substantial additional financial and operational assistance to the OTP, to the benefit of all situations under investigations or in trial. As the world's first and only permanent international criminal court, the ICC has a vital mandate to hold perpetrators of the most serious crimes to account and to provide justice for victims. The European Union calls on the state parties to contribute to the Trust Fund for Victims, as it plays an essential role in providing justice by ensuring that thousands of victims receive reparations and essential assistance, including physical and psychological rehabilitation and material support. We also urge state parties to support and protect human rights defenders and civil society organizations which relentlessly work to bring justice to victims. Threats and intimidation directed at civil society organizations cooperating with court are unacceptable. Madam President, We believe that efforts to promote the universality of the Rome Statutes can contribute to prevention, criminal accountability and justice. The European Union and its member states will continue to advocate for the universal ratification and implementation of the Rome Statutes through the various means at their disposal, and will continue to work with the international community in a concerted effort to bring constructive and positive attention to the work of the ICC. The European Union urges all countries that have not yet done so to consider acceding to the Rome Statutes and to end impunity for the most serious crimes worldwide. It is only by nurturing international law, multilateralism and cooperation that accountability and justice can be assured. We owe it to the victims and to their families, to ourselves and to the generations to come. We have high expectations for the court to deliver justice, and we believe in the integrity of its work in all situations under investigations. I thank you, and Madam President, in addition to the statement I have just made, on behalf of the EU and its member states, I would like to make one brief announcement in my national capacity as the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use this opportunity to announce that the Czech Republic decided to present the candidacy for a judge of the International Criminal Court at the elections to be held during the 22nd Assembly of States Parties in New York the next year. The candidate is Dr. Pavel Zeman, a former head of the Public Prosecution Service of the Czech Republic. I strongly believe that the high competence of judges is what makes the ICC a trustworthy and efficient court. In this regard, I am convinced that the candidacy of Dr. Zeman will contribute to this task, and I would highly appreciate the valuable support of state parties. I thank you once again.
I thank you for your statement. And now I give the floor to His Excellencies Mr. Wopke Hoekstra, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands. Your Excellency, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by addressing Mr. Peter Lewis. I'm not sure whether he is in the room, the Register, who has successfully guided the court through some difficult moments throughout the last 5 years. And his mandate expires next year, but I'm sure I'm speaking for many when I say that we're sad to see him go and thank him for his tremendous service. Your Excellencies, after a tragedy, we often say, never forget, or never again. And these phrases express our sense of loss, anger, and of course sorrow. But by themselves, they will not bring justice. And that is why almost 25 years after we created the Rome International Statute, we need to live up to these words every single day again. In 2002, the statute entered into force and created the institution that brings us together today. A court where the worst criminals have to answer for the most egregious crimes. And this year we marked the ICC's 20th anniversary, and we can look back on a number of remarkable successes over the years. The court has firmly established itself as an indispensable pillar in the global fight against impunity. The number of state parties has more than doubled, from 60 to 123, and both the number of investigations and their global reach have expanded. International commitment to developing and strengthening the Rome Statute system is growing. Yes, slowly, but also surely. Many state parties have introduced major reforms to their domestic criminal law. And this has significantly improved their ability to try suspects of international crimes in national courts, in line with the principle of complementarity. Next year in Slovenia, we hope to adopt a new convention that will further strengthen international cooperation on the investigation and prosecution of core international crimes. At a time when the most fundamental legal norms are blatantly being violated, most visibly, of course, in Ukraine, these are hopeful steps. But in order to effectively fight impunity, I believe we must take several steps more. The first is to improve cooperation and coordination between the court and state parties. For a start, states should simply promptly execute outstanding arrest warrants. This is, by the way, an obligation under the Rome Statute. Second, states can do more. They can do more to the effective and efficient functioning of the court itself. For instance, by concluding framework agreements to cooperate voluntarily with the court on witness relocation, the transfer of persons upon completion of their sentence, and simply enforcing sentences. And third, state parties must provide the court with an adequate budget and support the courts by paying their own contributions. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the only way. This is the only way to ensure that the ICC can remain financially sustainable and carry out its mandate. The court can count on the unwavering support of the Netherlands. And may I call on all state parties to help the ICC take the next steps on the road to ending impunity. Thank you very much.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I give the floor to the third speaker on our list, His Excellency Mr. Riyad Malki, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates of the State of Palestine.
Thank you, Madam President. Excellencies, allow me at the outset to commend the President of the ASP, Her Excellency Silvia Fernandez de Gormendi, for conducting the work of the ASP with determination and vision over the past year, and assure her of the State of Palestine's full support. 20 years ago, we established a court with a universal calling. Our court opened its doors to victims of the most serious crimes of concern for the international community as a whole. Never before in history had an effort been made to bring within the scope of one international court a universal response to countless crimes, spanning decades across all continents and building on a century of efforts to develop international criminal law. 20 years ago, justice was no longer a distant hope. It became a recognized right for all peoples that could be realized despite the odds, or so we hoped. Excellencies, justice must be necessarily blind, and so must be the court's application of its mandate. It must be fulfilled effectively and consistently across all situations under its jurisdiction without fear or favor. To this end, we remain concerned about the growing gap in both the resources available to the court and the resources allocated for situations. We are troubled that the court's budget is, inter alia, limiting access of victims to justice and ultimately obstructing the court's mandate. The State of Palestine affirms the importance of substantively increasing the court's regular budget. We also affirm that an equitable allocation of resources is essential to ensure that crimes are prosecuted effectively, expeditiously, and independently across all situations. This is especially pertinent in situations where crimes are ongoing and escalating and where impunity is protracted. The budget of the court and the allocation of its resources could either reinforce selectivity or foster universal accountability. Only a principled approach to ensure long-term and sufficient resources provides the best protection for the court's independence, and guarantees a universal, responsive, flexible, and resilient institution. Excellencies, Palestine is a scene of ongoing crimes. In fact, Palestine is the scene. The Office of the Prosecutor recognized this when it opened an investigation in 2021. Undeterred by the court's ongoing investigation, Israeli crimes are escalating and impunity is further entrenching. Yet, the court is still to address this grave situation in the ongoing investigation in Palestine, to honor its mandate and to hold perpetrators of crimes accountable. 2022 has been the deadliest year for the Palestinian people for the last 15 years. It has been a year replete with unabated Israeli crimes, persecution, and an entrenched apartheid serving a settler colonial regime. A year of killing children, demolishing homes and schools, forcible transferring of families, and targeting journalists. Shireen Abu Akleh is another victim of this exceptional impunity that Israel enjoys. The circumstances around her killing are clear, well documented and reported to the court. Yet, not a word and not an action to hold perpetrators accountable. We reiterate that allowing the atrocious assassination of Shireen to go unpunished is to sanction the killing of journalists, and any justice that does not hold Israel's top officials accountable for their crimes is a compromised justice. Excellencies, one could say it's not the court's place to comment on a situation it is investigating. That is valid document or argument if this were true in other investigations. In fact, we see an active court in other situations with an overabundance of statements and declared engagements. Then we have the right to ask why. Why is the situation in Palestine not allocated due attention and resources? Why is the situation characterized by impunity and continued crimes not a top priority for the court? Why is the most documented and protracted situation of crimes and impunity in modern history sidelined and underfunded? Why is access to the court restricted to Palestinian victims when the court's door is wide open to others? Why does this unprecedented scale of Israeli crimes and clear contempt for the law and the court remain unanswered? Why, despite the publication of several damning and highly credible reports by international experts on the commission of crimes under the jurisdiction of the court by Israel, was the court silent? The Palestinian people are entitled to answers. Excellencies, the gravest threat to our court is the criminalization of its work and the escalating attacks against those cooperating with it, including civil society organizations and human rights defenders. As states parties, we have an obligation to stand up for civil society and human rights defenders and to defend their rights to operate freely and independently to help fulfill the mandate of the Rome Statute. In this connection, we reaffirm our unequivocal condemnation and rejection of Israel's criminalization of our civil society and human rights defenders, including raids on their offices, detention, and deportations. I want also to take this opportunity to salute Al-Haq, Al-Damir, Defense for Children International, the Bisan Center, the Union of Palestinian Women's Committees, and the Union of Agriculture Work Committees for their invaluable service to the cause of justice and accountability in Palestine. The State of Palestine calls on the ASP, its presidency, and state parties to defend civil society and human rights defenders, especially those working with the court, including the Palestinian organizations targeted by Israel. We also call on the ASP and state parties to integrate concrete and effective responses to attacks on civil society and human rights defenders into our broader strategies for confronting attacks against the court. We must ensure that civil society's space in Palestine and around the world is protected. This is indispensable to the court's ability to carry out its mandate. Excellencies, the State of Palestine has been consistent and clear in its firm position that accountability for the most serious crimes is essential for the integrity and sustainability of our international law-based order. For the State of Palestine, supporting the court is a commitment born out of principle. This commitment was reflected during our tenure in the Bureau, one of the most active and engaged members in drafting OP1 of the Omnibus resolution in response to threats and attacks against the court, its officials and those cooperating with it. We have also played a central role in promoting and defending the contribution of civil society and the activation of the court's jurisdiction over the crime of aggression. Not the least, our stance against double standards, delayed justice, selective justice, and denied justice is essential to ensure the sustainability and integrity of the court. Our commitment is unwavering. Justice must prevail. It must be blind. It must be available universally and equally to all. Palestine will not waver or relent until justice becomes a targetable reality. Thank you very much.
I thank you, Your Excellency, for your statement. And now I invite Her Excellency, Ms. Dominique Hassler from Liechtenstein.
Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. The rule of law, international justice and the fight against impunity have been a priority of Liechtenstein's foreign policy for many years. Naturally, the ICC is a focus of our engagement in this respect. The Rome Statute, whose 25th anniversary we will be celebrating next year, has created a powerful system of accountability for the most serious crimes under international law, which places the ICC at its center. The Rome Statute system is based on the primary role of national judicial systems and designed in such a way that the role of the ICC is complementary and one of last resort, where states fail to investigate and prosecute crimes in their national justice systems. A key ingredient of the system is cooperation from state parties, an indispensable element to make the court an effective institution. This cooperation is, of course, essential with respect to the court's investigations and prosecutions, but it extends far beyond that, in particular in the areas of political, diplomatic, and financial support. The annual gathering of this assembly is the place where key decisions in this respect should be made, and we are encouraged by the positive manner in which the court has embraced the recommendations of the independent expert review and the progress we have seen as a result. Steady financial support for the court is essential for its success, as an oversight to ensure the most efficient use of the resources given to it. As a result of the aggression against Ukraine and the numerous crimes we have witnessed in its aftermath, many states have provided massive additional funding to the court, and in particular to the Office of the Prosecutor. Liechtenstein firmly supports the court's investigations in Ukraine and was part of the joint revealer of the situation to the court. At the same time, we also believe that the court's investigations should never be contingent on voluntary contributions from the states, as an important measure to safeguard its independence. This session is the moment for the Assembly to set the court on a steady financial footing far beyond 2023. We can do this by providing the necessary funding for the court's investigations and trial activities, but also by replenishing the contingency fund. This is a key tool to ensure the court's ability to respond to accountability crises with agility, which we certainly all expect the court to be able to do. We are also hoping to see more progress on the universality of the Rome Statute. First and foremost, this means having more states join the Rome Statute and its amendments, as an expression of its increased relevance and political acceptance globally. The most persuasive argument, of course, is an ICC that delivers results in an equitable and truly independent manner. But this also requires the full and equal participations of all parties in the work of the Assembly. This must also include decision-making for the leadership positions in the court. Madam President, Liechtenstein has been a steady and leading advocate for the court's jurisdiction over the crime of aggression. We welcome the recent ratification of the Kampala amendments by Peru, which brings the total of ratifiers to 44. The aggression against Ukraine also requires us to take a fresh look at the court's role on the crime of aggression, given that there has not been a more blatant case of aggression since the creation of the United Nations. The UN General Assembly has determined overwhelmingly that it was an aggression on more than one occasion, and still the court is unable to exercise its jurisdiction due to the narrow jurisdictional regime of the Kampala amendments. We support the ongoing discussions to create a special tribunal to address the aggression against Ukraine. This is a conversation taking place with all UN member states, of course, but it needs to be in sync with our collective decisions as state parties. Ensuring the prosecution of the crime of aggression against Ukraine is also beneficial for the ICC and its central place in the area of international criminal justice. We can ensure this by bringing the jurisdictional regime for the crime of aggression in line with the other three core crimes. The notion that the crime of aggression is a crime that is rarely committed has been proven fundamentally mistaken. It has been replaced by the realization that initiating war is both an assault on the international order and the rule of law as a whole, but also results in the commission of atrocity crimes. The ICC can only effectively play its central role in educating the most serious crimes under international law if it has the competence to do so, equitable and consistently across its full docket of situations and with respect to all four Rome Statute crimes. The ICC carries a very important message, that nobody is above the law, that those who commit the first offenses against international law will be held accountable. This is a uniquely important statement at the time when the international order is questioned and undermined in a systematic manner. And it remains a beacon of hope for the numerous victims of atrocities around the globe. Let us have this on top of our minds, always, and factor in it when making decisions about the future of the ICC. Thank you very much.
I thank you for your statement, and now I invite His Excellency Mr. Makana Ronald Shamukuni, Minister of Justice of Botswana.
Thank you, Madam President, honorable ministers, excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to begin by expressing my delegation's deep appreciation with the excellent manner in which you are guiding our deliberations. We salute you for your outstanding leadership and wisdom, and are hopeful that the 21st session will be a resounding success. Madam President, as Botswana, we pledge our full support and cooperation to you and members of your Bureau as you continue to discharge your duties in steering the Assembly of State Parties and the Court to achieve its mandate of attaining justice for victims of serious crime. Over the past 20 years, state parties to the Rome Statute have demonstrated their support to the Court, working together to ensure that the Court upholds universal human rights whilst establishing itself as a cornerstone of international criminal justice. To that end, the Court has successfully delivered justice to victims and ensured global accountability, upholding universal human rights and the rule of law. With our support as members, the Court is able to fully execute its mandate with integrity and efficiency in accordance with the highest standards. This pivotal moment allows state parties to reflect on past achievements and take note of the remarkable role that the Court plays in facilitating justice to victims of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity around the world. As we celebrate these achievements, state parties are encouraged to note the obligations to cooperate with the Court to enable it to undertake its mandate. Furthermore, we call on all state parties to ensure that the Court has the necessary resources to meet its quest for justice now more than ever before. Madam President, it is worthy to note that the activities of the Court over the past 20 years have had an enormous impact, not just for individuals prosecuted before the Court itself, but for millions of victims, communities, and societies affected by mass atrocity crimes. Through the demonstration of the Trust Fund for Victims and ongoing contribution from state parties, positive impact is made for men, women, and children in affected communities, allowing them to rebuild their lives in a dignified manner. We therefore commend all state parties for their support through contributions made to the Trust Fund for Victims, which helps alleviate the significant suffering caused by horrific acts of violence and encourage states to make voluntary contributions to the Trust Fund for Victims to ensure that necessary support and reparations are available to those who need this support most. Madam President, Botswana strongly believes that the International Criminal Court embodies a truly progressive multilateral system that 20 years on continues to make concrete impact against impunity. Current geopolitical issues remind us that it is imperative that all state parties stand firmly together in our collective efforts to deliver justice for alleged international crimes. It is our shared responsibility to tirelessly support and take decisive and concrete action to ensure that the Rome Statute becomes a universal legislation through an increase in the number of countries that domesticate the statute. We therefore encourage all countries to become state parties to the Rome Statute and urge those that have signed to proceed to conclude the ratification process. The role of the International Criminal Court is pivotal in that it is a universal system that brings justice to those who need it. Therefore, the Court requires our full support, particularly now in the ever-evolving international criminal justice system. This Assembly and the 20th year commemoration present a moment of reflection and a further opportunity to recommit to the Rome Statute. Let us continue to demonstrate our support for the Court and work together as state parties to ensure that the Court delivers justice for all. In conclusion, I wish to reaffirm Botswana's commitment and support to the ICC in the execution of its critical mandate. I thank you for your kind attention.
I thank you for your statement, and now I invite His Excellency Mr. Abubakar Malami San, Attorney General and Minister of Justice of Nigeria.
Madam President, Assembly of State Parties, on behalf of the government and the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I would like to commend you for your exemplary leadership and dedication in conducting the affairs of this session and for the efforts that are put in place to ensure a hitch-free 21st session of this Assembly. We also extend our congratulatory message to the leadership of the Court and the Bureau for the tremendous contributions towards successful organizations of this gathering. I would like to use this opportunity to reiterate the importance of the Rome Statute in combating heinous crimes as perpetrators of crimes that shock the conscience of humanity must be held accountable. Nigeria's strong belief in the dreams of the founding fathers of the Rome Statute and its desire to join other like-minded state parties at putting an end to impunities informed its decision to accede to the statutes. Nigeria is also committed to the domestication of the Rome Statute, and the National Assembly of Nigeria is working assiduously with the office, with my office, the Office of the Attorney General, to achieve this. As disclosed in our previous statements, Nigeria firmly believes in the rule of law as a panacea to a just and equitable world. Consequently, our nation has contributed to uphold her obligations under international law. With regards to the ongoing preliminary investigations in Nigeria, the federal government has not reneged in its pledge to extend maximum cooperation to the office of the prosecutor of the court in addressing the allegations of crimes against humanity committed within its territory. There has been increased exchange of correspondence between the federal government of Nigeria and the office of the prosecutor, and Nigeria has appointed a focal point specifically designated to respond to all requests bordering on criminal law and prosecution issues. This has aided the seamless interactions between Nigeria, the analysts, and the international cooperation advisors of the OTP. The cooperation extended to the court culminated in the first official visit of the prosecutor and his team to Nigeria in April 2022, during which he discussed the subject with His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, the Vice President, HE Professor Yemi Osinbajo, and other senior government officials in Nigeria. Nigeria is currently working on a memorandum of understanding with the Office of the Prosecutor with a view to galvanizing regional support and buy-in of the continent for the ICC. This is further consolidated by the policies put in place, inclusive of enhancing the capacity of the armed forces on Rome statutes and de-radicalization. The military is equally working on serious crime response team over and above efforts being made to enhance the efficiency of the court-martial arrangement backed by legislation. I take this opportunity to reiterate the fact that Nigeria will continue to demonstrate strong political will to hold perpetrators of terrorism and the heinous crimes accountable, in line with our firm belief that protection of fundamental rights of victims of crimes against humanity are not negotiable. Nigeria believes in the principle of complementarity and will continue to play a leading role in ensuring that perpetrators of crimes against humanity are prosecuted and victims get desired justice. Madam President, my delegation specifically commends this Assembly for the measures taken to strengthen the court systems, most especially as it currently assessing the recommendation of the group of independent experts. These noble steps are highly commendable with the quality of leadership of the court, coupled with the assessment carried out so far. The world is anxiously waiting to see a new court system that will be acceptable to all. If we are indeed to rid the world of the impunities, a strong and stable international criminal court system is not negotiable. In recent times, we have observed that the budget of the court has continued to increase in view of the prevailing inflation around the world. The economies of most state parties are just recovering from the impact of COVID. There is need for the court to be more innovative in carrying out its assigned mandate in an efficient and effective manner. As we call for timely implementation of the recommendations of the IER for maximum performance of the court, Nigeria believes that prioritization of the implementation of the recommendation will ease financial burden of the court. As a country, we remain committed and have indeed been up to date in keeping to our financial obligations and make advanced payments and not in any areas as far as financial obligations are concerned. In view of the fact that this is the last Assembly of State Parties that Mr. Peter Lewis will participate as the Registrar of the Court, permit me to congratulate him in advance for his service and contributions to the reformation of the court. We hope the best and most qualified candidates will be elected to replace him. We would like to also extend our congratulatory message to the ongoing members of the Committee on Budget and Finance for their good work and wish them well in their future undertakings too. In the like manner, my delegation congratulates the new members of the Committee on Budget and Finance and believe that they will sustain the successes recorded by these distinguished outgoing members. My delegation will continue to advocate for the need to elect the best and most qualified candidates for various positions in the court. I thank you most sincerely.
I thank you for your statement, and now I give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Álvaro Leiva Durán, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Colombia.
Good afternoon. Presidenta en español. Presidenta de la Asamblea, de los aquí presentes que componen quienes participan en la Corte Penal Internacional. El Estatuto de Roma, doctora Silvia Fernández de Guzmendi. Es la tercera vez que vengo a la Corte Penal Internacional. La primera vez la hice en agosto 13 del 2018. Estábamos bajo examen preliminar Colombia, llevábamos 17 años. Vine como integrante de la Comisión de Justicia creada por la Mesa de Negociaciones de Paz, adelantadas en la ciudad de La Habana, República de Cuba, febrero 23, 2012 a noviembre 24 del 2016, entre el Gobierno de Colombia y las Fuerzas Armadas Revolucionarias FARC-EP, con el mandato de establecer normas y procedimientos que vinieron a conformar la denominada Jurisdicción Especial para la Paz. Yo tuve ese cometido, éramos 6. Y vine a hacer entrega del acuerdo, el que viene y acredita el acuerdo frente a la Corte Penal Internacional. Es quien se dirige a ustedes. Se recurrió a una jurisdicción especial porque se estableció que el Estado era parte del conflicto, ya por acción, ya por omisión. y había que recurrir a una fórmula muy particular. De allí que acudimos a los principios de Naciones Unidas, el derecho internacional humanitario, el derecho de los derechos humanos, el derecho internacional, la costumbre fundamentalmente y el Estatuto de Roma. Naturalmente queríamos hacer unas observaciones quienes vinieron. Fuimos 3 personas, 3 de las que les digo hicieron parte de esta comisión. Y pusimos de presente cosas elementales, tratando de establecer rápidamente, porque acá todo es breve, en qué consistía ese acuerdo. Y se dijo que el funcionamiento del componente de justicia era inescindible y se aplicaría de manera simultánea integral a todos los que participaron directa o indirectamente en el conflicto armado, y sus decisiones ofrecerían garantías de seguridad jurídica a todos los anteriores, combatientes o no combatientes vinculados al conflicto, que por esa época ya llevaba 60 años, imagínense ustedes. Y obviamente se estableció, comillas, que todas las actuaciones en el componente de justicia de conformidad con las reglas aplicables a la Jurisdicción Especial para la Paz respetarán los derechos fundamentales del debido proceso, defensa, asistencia de abogado, presunción de inocencia y la independencia e imparcialidad de los magistrados de las salas y secciones, así como los integrantes de la unidad de investigación y acusación. Se dijo la Jurisdicción Especial para la Paz aplicará el principio de favorabilidad en todas sus actuaciones, en especial respecto al tratamiento a recibir por cualquier persona sometida a la jurisdicción. Y se recomendó que se aplicara la famosa doctrina del margen nacional de apreciación, teniendo en cuenta tiempo, modo y lugar. 60 años de conflicto. Hubo necesidad de hacer algunas observaciones. Entonces, regresé en compañía de 2 personas más, entre ellas el doctor Danilo Rueda, que es hoy el alto comisionado para la paz, que estamos prosiguiendo y tratando de alcanzar dentro de lo que hemos llamado la paz total, y se inicia con el Ejército Liberal de Liberación. Hicimos algunas observaciones, obviamente no las puedo repetir todas acá. Se dijo que el alto tribunal constitucional, tribunal constitucional, en fecha anterior, dejando de lado lo acordado entre el gobierno nacional y las FARC, de que los terceros civiles y agentes del Estado no combatientes comprometidos con conductas antijurídicas previstas como crímenes de guerra o delitos de lesa humanidad del Estatuto de Roma, solo comparecieran ante la Justicia Especial para la Paz. Y eso se revocó. Se dijo que en adelante podían acudir voluntariamente a la jurisdicción, siempre y cuando eventualmente la jurisdicción ordinaria los estudiara, los investigara. Naturalmente comprendimos que allí había una falencia que podía poner en peligro todo lo que estábamos haciendo. No dejaba esto de afectar en materia grave los derechos de las víctimas, máxime si se tiene en cuenta que desde el propio preámbulo del Estatuto de Roma se establece en su segunda consideración que los estados partes han tenido, comillas, presente que en el siglo millones de niños, mujeres y hombres han sido víctimas de atrocidades que desafían la imaginación y conmueven profundamente la conciencia de la humanidad, cierro comillas, para luego hacer de nuevo referencia a las víctimas, el Estatuto de Roma, en los artículos tales como el 15.3, el 19.3, el 43.6, el 54.13b, el 57.3b, el 64.2, el artículo 65.4, el 68.123, el 75.1234 y otros más. Naturalmente, En el caso nuestro, esto implicaba un gran retroceso. Era importante, naturalmente, llamar la atención de la Corte Penal Internacional para que pudiera estar alerta en ese momento, a fin de que eventualmente, si fuera necesario, pudiera entrar a llamar la atención a la Jurisdicción Especial para la Paz. También llamamos la atención sobre algo que yo pongo de presente en el día de hoy. Y lo digo, sea la oportunidad para decir que el Estatuto de Roma es claro al indicar en su artículo 120 reservas, que no se admiten reservas al presente estatuto, así reza, todo lo cual indica que no puede haber alteración unilateral por las partes suscriptoras de artículo alguno. En el caso de la normatividad colombiana relacionada con la JEP, se pretende menoscabar el artículo 27 del Estatuto relativo a la improcedencia del cargo oficial que a su tenor reza. 1. El presente estatuto será aplicable por igual a todos sin distinción alguna basada en el cargo oficial. En particular, el cargo oficial de una persona, sea jefe de Estado o de gobierno, miembro de un gobierno o parlamento, representante elegido o funcionario de gobierno, en ningún caso la eximirá de responsabilidad penal ni constituirá per se motivo para reducir la pena. 2. Las inmunidades y las normas de procedimiento especiales que conlleve el cargo oficial de una persona con arreglo al derecho interno o al derecho internacional no obstarán para que la Corte ejerza su competencia sobre ella. Quiero señalarlo porque en Colombia se ha venido soslayando ese mandato del artículo 27. Y por último, sea la oportunidad para señalar lo siguiente. El jus cogens en Colombia es muy importante, la relevancia que hace el Tratado sobre los Tratados de Viena sobre el jus cogens. Surgen derechos toda la vida, todos los días, a propósito del conflicto y a propósito de tener que acudir a instancias internacionales para revisar temas que tocan con el jus cogens. Simplemente lo señalo para tenerlo presente, porque se nos olvida que hay una institución que inclusive surge de la cláusula Martens, de tal forma que me voy a permitir señalar la importancia, aunque ustedes la conocen, del jus cogens para todos los efectos, sobre todo para todos los efectos que tocan con Colombia. Normas imperativas de derecho internacional general que se hallan en la cúspide del sistema normativo, teniendo capacidad de invalidar cualquier norma que se le oponga, sea ella constitucionaria o convencional. Y como señala una autora suramericana, argentina, y la cito, derecho coactivo, compulsorio, imperativo, absoluto, perentorio, terminante, inderogable, inmutable en esencia, pleno, que protege bienes sociales fundamentales de una comunidad dada. Lo señalo porque algo que realmente se aprende al ser negociador, como lo he sido yo, con grupos de toda orden, alzados en armas y demás, desde 1984, es que este derecho para lograr la paz y para lograr la paz total hay que irlo tejiendo y haciéndolo crecer todos los días para que este planeta sea absolutamente diferente. Muchísimas gracias.
Muchas gracias por su declaración. And now I give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Alphonse Charles Wright, Garde des Sceaux and Minister of Justice and Human Rights of Guinea.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués, c'est pour moi et la délégation qui m'accompagne un honneur et un privilège de participer à la 21e session de l'Assemblée des États partis au statut de Rome. Notre présence à cette importante rencontre est la preuve de la volonté du gouvernement de la République de Guinée, sous la conduite du colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, président de la transition, chef de l'État, d'œuvrer aux côtés de toutes les nations éprises de paix et de justice et engagées dans la lutte contre l'impunité. C'est pourquoi je voudrais profiter de cette tribune pour vous transmettre les chaleureuses salutations de Monsieur le Président de la Transition, chef de l'État, le colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, dont la vision cadre parfaitement avec les missions dévolues à la Cour pénale internationale, à savoir mener un combat sans relax contre les actions qui déshumanisent et portent atteinte à la suprématie de l'humain tels que les génocides, les crimes de guerre, les crimes contre l'humanité, etc. Cette convergence de vues entre le gouvernement de la République de Guinée et la Cour pénale internationale doit nous amener à approfondir des réflexions sur l'émergence d'un monde tourné vers le principe de responsabilité devant tous les actes déviants posés par les uns et les autres. Les sessions de l'Assemblée générale des États partis au statut de Rome constituent le cadre idéal d'échange et de réflexion au profit inclusif du principe de responsabilité qui découle des actes posés ici et là. Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués, la présente Assemblée se tient dans un contexte particulier pour mon pays, la République de Guinée, engagé dans un irrévocable et irréversible processus de refondation de l'État et de ratification institutionnelle depuis le 5 septembre 2021. Un processus qui a comme centralité la justice, les droits de l'homme, la réconciliation et surtout la lutte contre l'impunité. En effet, la situation sociopolitique de la République de Guinée, héritée par des nouvelles autorités, était caractérisée par de nombreuses tares, dont la corruption, la mauvaise gouvernance, la politisation de l'administration et l'instrumentalisation de la justice, pratiques favorisées par l'impunité à outrance. C'est pour inverser cette tendance que le gouvernement a engagé des actions décisives, notamment dans la lutte contre les crimes économiques à travers la création de la Cour de répression des infractions économiques et financières et les violations graves des droits humains. Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués, parler des violations graves des droits humains en Guinée rappelle à la conscience universelle les événements douloureux survenus à Conakry le 28 septembre 2009 dans le stade du même nom. En effet, la République de Guinée s'est tristement illustrée ce jour par la répression par les autorités d'alors d'une manifestation pacifique des citoyens exerçant un droit fondamental garanti par les instruments internationaux de protection des droits de l'homme. Au cours de ces douloureux événements, 156 concitoyens ont trouvé la mort, plus d'une centaine de femmes violées et violentées, de nombreux disparus et des blessés graves, dont certains avec des séquelles à vie. Depuis cette date, les victimes, leurs ayants droit, le peuple de Guinée et l'humanité tout entière attendent que justice soit rendue. Vous conviendrez donc avec moi qu'un gouvernement qui se veut responsable ne saurait laisser ces atrocités impunies. C'est pourquoi, dès la prise du pouvoir le 5 septembre 2021, le colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, président de la transition, chef de l'État, a clairement affiché son intention de faire juger toutes les personnes concernées par ces atrocités au moins d'un procès juste et équitable. C'est pour opérationnaliser cette volonté qu'il nous a instruit de prendre toutes les mesures pour la tenue de ce procès afin de permettre à la Guinée de clôturer cette page sombre de son histoire. C'est fort de cet engagement personnel de Monsieur le Président de la Transition que nous avons déclaré lors de notre passage le 12 septembre 2022 à la 51e session du Conseil des droits de l'homme tenue à Genève que le gouvernement de transition allait respecter un de ses engagements pris devant le peuple de Guinée et la communauté internationale, celui d'organiser le procès sur les événements du 28 septembre 2009. Je suis heureux et fier, au nom du gouvernement de la transition, de vous informer que depuis le 28 septembre 2022, que les présumés auteurs dont le chef d'État d'alors comparaissent par devant le tribunal criminel de Dixine dans le respect des droits de toutes les parties. Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués, c'est le lieu de remercier sincèrement, au nom de Monsieur le Président de la Transition et en celui du gouvernement de la République de Guinée, la Cour pénale internationale pour son intérêt et sa collaboration hautement appréciée dans la matérialisation de ce procès. En effet, depuis la survenance de ces événements, la Cour pénale internationale n'a cessé d'encourager la République de Guinée à prendre les mesures idoines pour que ces crimes odieux ne restent pas impunis et que la justice soit rendue aux victimes. Dans ce cadre, le bureau du procureur a effectué de nombreuses missions en Guinée pour s'enquérir du niveau d'avancement de l'instruction du dossier. L'avènement du colonel Mamadi Doumbouya a donné une nouvelle dynamique à la relation entre la Guinée et la Cour pénale internationale pour la finalisation de cet épineux dossier. C'est ainsi que le 28 septembre 2022, le procès de ces douloureux événements a été officiellement lancé en présence de tous les partenaires de la Guinée. À cette occasion, un protocole d'accord a été signé entre Monsieur le Président de la Transition et le procureur de la Cour pénale internationale, faisant ainsi avancer la complémentarité et la coopération entre la République de Guinée et le bureau du procureur de la CPI. La signature de cet accord a permis à la Guinée de démontrer sa détermination à respecter ses engagements internationaux et de jouer sa partition dans l'avènement d'un monde sans impunité. Que les Nations Unies, à travers la Cour pénale internationale, trouvent ici l'expression de la gratitude du gouvernement et du peuple de Guinée. Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués, la tenue d'un procès de cette envergure induit d'importantes charges financières pour mon pays, surtout dans cette phase de refondation de l'État et de rectification institutionnelle. Cependant, des efforts substantiels sont consentis, notamment pour l'organisation matérielle du procès, mais aussi dans le cadre des réparations et indemnisations des victimes. Ainsi, le gouvernement a pris des dispositions pour la construction et l'équipement d'un palais de justice, la promulgation des lois sur la protection des victimes, témoins et personnes à risque et sur le fonds d'indemnisation des victimes. La création de ce fonds d'indemnisation vise à aider les victimes et leurs familles à reconstruire leur vie. Cependant, en raison de la crise économique internationale, le gouvernement de la République de Guinée sollicite l'accompagnement de la communauté internationale, la mise en œuvre de cet ambitieux programme de réparation et de réhabilitation. Madame la Présidente, Mesdames et Messieurs les délégués, le gouvernement de la République de Guinée, fidèle à ses engagements d'installer durablement le pays dans un processus de construction démocratique basé sur le respect des droits de l'homme, reste disposé à collaborer étroitement avec la Cour pénale internationale pour mener à terme ce dossier du 28 septembre. Il prend aussi l'engagement qu'aucun coupable de ces atrocités ne sera épargné et qu'aucun innocent ne sera condamné. Telle est la volonté de mon gouvernement, du peuple de Guinée et surtout de celle de Monsieur le Président de la transition chef de l'État, le colonel Mamadi Doumbouya. Je vous remercie.
Je vous remercie de votre déclaration. And now I invite Her Excellency Ms. Anniken Huitfeldt, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Norway.
Madam President, it's a great privilege to address this assembly on behalf of Norway. Norway is a steadfast and strong supporter of the ICC. We remain committed to defending the court from any attempts to undermine it. We have supported and will continue to support the court in all relevant forums, as we have done in our capacity as an elected member of the Security Council over the last 2 years. Norway sees the ICC as a beacon of justice in the world, stepping in when other mechanisms fail. A culture of impunity fuels conflict. Accountability, justice, and the protection of civilians are crucial to promote long-term international peace and security. Over the last year, the court has faced an exceptional situation with a record workload. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the court's officials and staff for tackling this situation with determination and professionalism. Earlier this year, Norway joined more than 40 other countries in referring the situation in Ukraine to the court. We are pleased that the ICC is investigating possible war crimes and crimes against humanity in Ukraine. Those who commit atrocities must know that their actions will never be forgotten. War crimes will be investigated, and individuals at all levels must be held accountable for their actions. The ICC's mission remains as crucial as ever, both in the context of Ukraine and globally. Madam President, Norway seeks to promote a strong, effective, and independent court. The review process is of paramount importance in achieving this goal. Now we are nearing the end of the assessment phase. We must stay the course and deliver on implementation. And this must be done efficiently, with a focus on results. So far, we have only seen the beginning of a process. Genuine follow-ups is vital. Moving forward, Norway will continue to give priority to improving the governance of the court. A healthy working culture, gender equality, and integrity are essential to maintain productivity, efficient operations, and the ICC's reputation. This is especially important now that the court is facing an unprecedented number of open investigations. Sound management is key to the court's success in this situation. Madam President, in order to carry out its mission, the court needs to be properly funded. All states parties must live up to our responsibilities and ensure that the court has the resources it needs to meet our increased demands. At the same time, the court must ensure its own effective and efficient function. Let me close by reiterating Norway's strong commitment to the ICC. We look forward to productive discussions on how to strengthen the court and the Rome Statute system. Thank you.
I thank Her Excellency and invite Her Excellency Ms. Antonia Urrejola Noguera, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Chile.
Me es muy grato dirigirme a esta Asamblea de los Estados Partes y enviar un saludo y reconocimiento muy especial a su presidenta, Silvia Fernández, así como a los vicepresidentes, miembros de la mesa y la Secretaría. Desde el inicio del proceso que condujo al establecimiento de la Corte Penal Internacional, Chile ha apoyado decididamente el rol de esta organización y su mandato de poner fin a la impunidad respecto a los más graves crímenes contra la humanidad. En efecto, no es casualidad que Chile suscribiera el tratado que la constituye el 11 de septiembre de 1998, en el 25º aniversario del golpe de Estado que instauró una cruenta dictadura cívico-militar en el país por más de 17 años. De alguna manera, nuestra propia historia nos determinó para comprender la importancia de contar con una institución que, actuando de manera complementaria a las jurisdicciones nacionales, permita que los graves crímenes que lesionan el alma de la humanidad no queden sin castigo. En su lado más visible, en los 20 años desde la entrada en vigor del Estatuto de Roma, la Corte Penal Internacional ha logrado la condena de los principales responsables de los crímenes que se enmarcan en su competencia material y ha implementado medidas para reparar a las víctimas a partir del trabajo del Fondo Fiduciario. Esta dimensión del trabajo de la Corte es fundamental y requiere un apoyo decidido de los Estados partes, que no puede limitarse solamente a proveer recursos económicos, sino que también a cooperar de manera activa en el desarrollo de las investigaciones, la aprehensión de los acusados y acusadas y la ejecución de las sentencias. Uno de los precedentes importantes que Chile destaca es el inicio, en julio del 2020, del primer juicio de la Corte Penal Internacional a causa de persecución por motivos de género contra un antiguo militante islamista que habría sometido a cientos de mujeres a la esclavitud sexual en Tombuctú, Mali. Asimismo, y de modo más reciente, en abril de este año comenzó el primer juicio por crímenes cometidos en Darfur, Sudán. En ese contexto, Chile también celebra la reciente decisión de la Sala de Asuntos Preliminares que autoriza la reanudación de la investigación respecto de presuntos crímenes de guerra y de lesa humanidad cometidos en Afganistán. El empeoramiento de la situación de derechos humanos en Afganistán en los últimos meses y la falta de protección de sus habitantes, especialmente de mujeres y niñas, es una materia de especial preocupación para Chile. Es de esperar que la intervención de la Corte Penal Internacional en esta situación pueda contribuir efectivamente a la protección de las víctimas. Para ello se requiere el apoyo decidido de todos los miembros de la comunidad internacional. Estos 20 años de funcionamiento de la Corte, si bien hemos tenido momentos de celebración, nos permiten al mismo tiempo observar que aún hay mucho que hacer para avanzar hacia una acción que sea coherente con los fines para los que se estableció la Corte. Esto es, evitar la impunidad respecto a los más graves crímenes internacionales y servir como un elemento que en razón de su eficacia lleva a disuadir la comisión de los mismos. Para el logro de estas importantes funciones es vital el permanente apoyo de los estados del Estatuto en términos de respetar y apoyar su autonomía e independencia, indispensables para el ejercicio pleno de sus atribuciones. Por esta razón, creemos que se debe fortalecer el mecanismo de la complementariedad, elemento central de la relación entre las jurisdicciones nacionales y la de la Corte. Pero para ello son los Estados los primeros llamados a ejercer jurisdicción respecto de estos crímenes, para lo que deberán continuar tipificando en sus ordenamientos internos estas figuras penales. En este sentido, es fundamental tener presente que el establecimiento de la Corte no se ha orientado a menoscabar las jurisdicciones nacionales, sino que muy por el contrario, ha contribuido a fortalecer los propios sistemas jurídicos internos, contradiciendo las visiones de aquellos que inicialmente sostuvieron que se estaban sustrayendo competencias soberanas a los Estados para entregárselas a una instancia internacional. El fenómeno de la complementariedad positiva, que busca fomentar el desarrollo de investigaciones y juicios a nivel local, representa un desarrollo crucial en la lucha contra la impunidad, pero que no resulta siempre evidente. Por cierto, el análisis de la complementariedad cobra especial relevancia cuando la Fiscalía de la Corte decide abrir un examen preliminar o una investigación, momento en el cual se evaluará si el Estado cuenta con investigaciones o procesos respecto a la misma materia. Sin embargo, la relevancia de la complementariedad no termina ahí y se manifiesta en un sinfín de medidas que buscan que los sistemas jurídicos domésticos puedan prevenir la ocurrencia de estos crímenes o que, en caso de que ellos sean cometidos, cuenten con las herramientas adecuadas para investigarlos y perseguirlos. De esta manera, la complementariedad debe operar como un principio orientador en la labor de los Estados partes, que les obliga a cooperar no solo con la Corte, sino también entre ellos y con la sociedad civil, aprendiendo las experiencias comparadas y del trabajo con las víctimas, para adoptar aquellas medidas que sean necesarias para prevenir y perseguir estos graves crímenes internacionales. Ahora bien, el enfoque, la complementariedad, no puede hacernos perder de vista el hecho de que en ocasiones la intervención directa de la Corte resulta ineludible, atendida la incapacidad o la falta de voluntad de los órganos nacionales para llevar a cabo las investigaciones o enjuiciamientos. Sin embargo, como es sabido, la Corte carece de los medios para llevar adelante su competencia sin un decidido apoyo de los Estados. Esa relación de cooperación debe fortalecerse y mejorarse, aún más en el futuro. Los mandatos de detención emanados de la Corte deberían ser atendidos oportunamente por los Estados, así como también los requerimientos en materia de aportes de pruebas. Sin esta estrecha cooperación, la Corte se encuentra enormemente limitada en su labor jurisdiccional. Ese es, sin lugar a dudas, un terreno sobre el que queda un gran camino por recorrer. Chile tiene la plena confianza en que el trabajo conjunto de los Estados partes con la Corte y la necesaria cooperación de los Estados constituye no solo un mandato de cada Estado y de este órgano internacional, sino que es también un compromiso de la máxima importancia que asume cada uno de los Estados partes del Estatuto. Por lo anterior, en el marco de su compromiso permanente con el derecho internacional humanitario y con la protección internacional de los derechos humanos, el Gobierno de Chile manifestó al fiscal de la Corte su decisión de unirse a la remisión de la situación en Ucrania, comunicada al señalado persecutor el 2 de marzo pasado por la Embajada del Reino Unido a nombre de 39 Estados partes del Estatuto de Roma, con el fin de dar inicio a una investigación independiente e imparcial de los hechos, la rendición de cuentas y sanción a los responsables a la luz del derecho internacional penal. En este periodo particularmente difícil, en que el mundo ha sido afectado por un conflicto entre Estados, Chile desea reafirmar su apoyo al mandato general de la Corte y considera que es ante ese escenario cuando surge más que nunca la necesidad de preservar que la Corte siga actuando de manera imparcial. En este entendido, Chile cree firmemente que todos los crímenes que se encuentran bajo la jurisdicción de la Corte, sin distinciones, deben ser investigados y los responsables sancionados, precisamente en atención a la gravedad de los mismos, lo cual también significa una asignación equilibrada de recursos para la Corte entre las distintas situaciones que investiga, dando siempre prioridad a las víctimas, independiente de dónde éstas sean, respondiendo de esta forma a su carácter de órgano estrictamente jurídico, ajeno a las determinaciones políticas. Asimismo, Chile quisiera enfatizar la necesidad de contar con la sociedad civil como apoyo constante al trabajo de la Corte y reconoce el aporte de esta en la lucha contra la impunidad. Por esta razón, nuestro país hace un llamado a proteger a la sociedad civil y a todos ellos que colaboran con la Corte y a rechazar enérgicamente cualquier acto de violencia en su contra. En materia financiera, debemos seguir ideando formas para garantizar que las operaciones de la Corte no se vean debilitadas, así como para encontrar una solución definitiva y sostenible a la creciente crisis de liquidez. En este sentido, Chile ha realizado un importante esfuerzo para cumplir con sus obligaciones financieras, consciente de las limitaciones que nos ha impuesto la crisis económica derivadas de la pandemia. Es importante que todos los Estados partes redoblemos nuestros esfuerzos para dotar a la Corte los recursos necesarios para desempeñar su trabajo, particularmente en momentos que se realizan importantes cambios. Reiteramos nuestro compromiso con el proceso de revisión de la Corte, cuyo objetivo es fortalecer su mandato, su capacidad de llevar justicia a las víctimas y de responder a los actuales desafíos, incluida la respuesta a los ataques que ha sufrido en el pasado reciente y al cual los Estados partes del Estatuto han reafirmado su compromiso de enfrentar unidos. Si bien es cierto que queda mucho por hacer en cuanto a esta materia, es innegable que el proceso de revisión ha servido para revitalizar la interacción entre la Corte y los Estados partes. Reiteramos nuestro compromiso con la universalidad del Estatuto de Roma y nuestra plena confianza en la importancia de la Corte Penal Internacional en la lucha contra la impunidad y en la prevención de los actos que remercen la conciencia de la humanidad y que amenazan la paz y la seguridad internacionales. Cada vez que la Corte cumple con el objetivo fundamental de llevar a juicio y condenar a un autor de crímenes atroces, el mundo es un mejor lugar para vivir, pues como señaló Eduardo Couture, el derecho es con todas sus imperfecciones, el mejor instrumento que se ha descubierto para regular la convivencia humana. La justicia es el destino normal del derecho. El derecho apunta hacia la justicia y junto al derecho existe el amor a la paz, que es un sustituto bondadoso de la justicia. Abrigamos la esperanza de que la adhesión al Estatuto de Roma aumente progresivamente entre los miembros de la comunidad internacional y hacemos un llamado a los estados que no son parte del Estatuto en este sentido. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Muchas gracias. And now I invite His Excellency Mr. Jean Asselborn, Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of Luxembourg.
Madame la Présidente de l'Assemblée, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs, le Luxembourg s'associe pleinement à la déclaration présentée au nom de l'Union européenne. Depuis la signature du statut de Rome, le Luxembourg demeure un fervent défenseur de la Cour pénale internationale et de la lutte contre l'impunité. Je voudrais féliciter le personnel de la Cour des efforts considérables fournis durant cette année et réitérer l'appui indéfectible de mon pays à la CPI. Je voudrais aussi saisir cette occasion pour remercier le greffier, M. Peter Lewis, pour ses services rendus à la CPI et lui exprimer ma reconnaissance pour les efforts inlassables en faveur du bon fonctionnement de cette Cour. Cette année marque le 20e anniversaire de l'entrée en vigueur du statut de Rome. C'est le moment de rendre hommage à la Cour ainsi qu'à tous les acteurs qui ont contribué à faire de la CPI une institution indépendante et impartiale fondée sur les principes et valeurs de la justice pénale internationale. La Cour a su faire face à de nombreux défis avec résilience et persévérance en s'adaptant aux changements et en résistant aux tentatives de remettre en question son rôle et sa légitimité. Le soutien des États partis à la CPI demeure essentiel et mon pays continuera à appuyer de manière déterminée la Cour dans notre lutte collective contre l'impunité. Je saisis cette occasion pour encourager la ratification de tous les amendements du statut de Rome, dont les amendements de Kampala sur le crime d'agression, ainsi que les récents amendements incluant le fait d'affamer délibérément des civils comme hôtes de guerre parmi les crimes de guerre, pour lesquels la Cour est compétente dans les conflits armés ne représentant pas un caractère international. Mesdames et Messieurs, les atrocités dont nous continuons d'être témoins dans le monde entier et maintenant aussi en Europe, à la suite de l'agression militaire de la Russie contre l'Ukraine, doivent renforcer notre détermination à mettre fin à l'impunité. Alors que malheureusement, de nouvelles atrocités continuent à être commises, le rôle de la Cour est plus essentiel que jamais afin de rendre justice aux victimes. Le Luxembourg a salué la décision du procureur Kahn d'ouvrir une enquête sur la situation en Ukraine et s'engage à soutenir les travaux de la Cour pour que les responsables des crimes commis répondent à leurs actes. En même temps, il importe de ne pas oublier les autres instances où des crimes graves qui concernent la communauté internationale sont commis. Toutes ces situations méritent notre plus grande attention et les enquêtes actuellement en cours couvrent presque toutes les régions du monde. Le nombre croissant d'enquêtes de la Cour pénale internationale touche à une autre réalité, celle de la charge de travail de la Cour, plus élevée que jamais. Pour qu'elle puisse continuer à être à la hauteur de nos attentes et surtout de celles des victimes, il est important que la Cour dispose de moyens financiers durables et revus à la hausse. Le Luxembourg figure parmi les nombreux pays qui ont versé cette année une contribution volontaire au fonds d'affectation spéciale mis en place par le procureur Kahn. Bien que la situation ait pu être exceptionnelle, le fonctionnement de la CPI ne saurait dépendre de contributions volontaires. Une telle approche risquerait de mettre en péril non seulement la durabilité du budget de la Cour, mais également son indépendance. Je suis conscient des défis concernant le budget de la CPI, mais la Cour doit disposer plus que jamais de ressources pour pouvoir s'acquitter de son mandat et devenir plus résiliente face à un contexte international en constante évolution. Le financement de la Cour ne saurait être réalisé au détriment de la justice internationale et des victimes des crimes les plus graves. Je souligne que le Luxembourg s'oppose fermement à une approche de croissance minimale zéro pour le budget de la CPI. Je réitère également mon appel à tous les États parties de verser leur contribution annuelle dans leur intégralité et dans les délais. Le montant des arriérés n'a malheureusement pas diminué, ce qui risque de créer des problèmes de liquidité graves pour la Cour. Le versement des contributions consiste en une obligation pour tous les États partis dont le respect reflète leur engagement pour la lutte contre l'impunité. Je me félicite des travaux en cours du mécanisme d'examen qui offre à la Cour une occasion unique de rendre ces travaux plus efficaces encore pour rendre justice aux victimes dans le monde entier. L'année précédente, j'avais lancé un appel pour la promotion d'une meilleure culture de travail et je constate à présent qu'un nouveau mécanisme informel et des modifications du code d'éthique ont été adoptés. Le Luxembourg se félicite vivement de ces développements et encourage toutes les parties prenantes à continuer ce processus fructueux, tout en préservant l'intégrité du statut de Rome et en respectant l'indépendance de la Cour. Le respect et la promotion du multilinguisme sont également essentiels pour une communication efficace et le respect du droit à un procès équitable. Mesdames et messieurs, le Luxembourg attache une très grande importance à la justice rendue aux enfants. Cependant, nous constatons que les perspectives sensibles aux enfants ne sont pas suffisamment intégrées dans les mécanismes judiciaires internationaux et nationaux. Nous devons faire plus d'efforts pour soutenir politiquement et financièrement une plus grande hiérarchisation et visibilité des violations et des crimes commis à l'encontre des enfants. Ensemble avec la Cour, nous devons nous donner les moyens pour acquérir une expertise spécifique à l'enfant et encourager un échange de meilleures pratiques afin de veiller à ce que les enfants reçoivent une attention particulière tout au long du processus judiciaire. Je profite aussi de l'occasion pour confirmer l'appui continu du Luxembourg au fonds au profit des victimes et au fonds spécial pour la réinstallation des témoins. Madame la Présidente, le statut de Rome repose sur la complémentarité, avec comme corollaire la coopération pour assurer la justice pénale internationale. Les États partis sont tenus de coopérer avec la CPI et j'exhorte tous les États à prêter l'assistance nécessaire à la Cour afin qu'elle puisse s'acquitter de son mandat de manière efficace, indépendante et impartiale. Ce n'est que par la coopération, le multilatéralisme et le respect du droit international que la redevabilité et la justice pourront être garanties. Lors des jours à venir, laissons-nous guider par l'impératif de la justice et n'oublions pas ceux qui doivent être au cœur de ces discussions, à savoir les victimes. Je vous assure de l'appui indéfectible de ma délégation pour cette session. Je vous remercie.
Je remercie Son Excellence de sa déclaration. I invite His Excellency Mr. Pekka Haavisto, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Finland.
Madam President, Finland aligns itself with the statement delivered today on behalf of the European Union. I thank you, the President and the judges, the prosecutor and his deputies, for your efforts to advance international criminal justice and strengthen the Rome Statute system. My special thanks to Registrar Mr. Levis for his dedication and outstanding performance as his term of office approaches its end. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the ICC. As the court has reached maturity, we see the full scale of its operations, from preliminary examinations to the implementation of repatriation orders. For 2 decades, the ICC has been a beacon of accountability, leading our efforts to curb impunity for the most serious crimes of concern to the international community as a whole. The ICC remains as important as ever, given the atrocities that unfold in many parts of the world today. The opening of a full investigation in the situation of Ukraine and the crimes that continue to take place there is one stark reminder of this reality. Madam President, the ICC is a court with a global mandate, but also a court of last resort. The ICC does not replace national judicial systems, but strengthens and complements them. The ICC only steps in when necessary. The universality of the Rome Statute remains a central priority as it fosters the worldwide ecosystem of accountability. To deliver on its promise and mandate, the court needs resources that match its workload. Exceptional voluntary resources can support but not replace sustainable resourcing through the regular budget. All states parties have a legal obligation to pay their contributions in full and on time. Delaying justice is not an option. We created the ICC to serve many purposes, from combating impunity to contributing to sustainable peace. At the heart of the Rome Statute system was always the promise to focus on the victims. To ensure we hear their voices through meaningful participation and provide assistance and repatriation for the unfathomable suffering they have endured. In most cases, the ICC fully relies on the Trust Fund for Victims. Finland is a long-standing contributor to the Trust Fund, and I call on others to join us. Madam President, the ICC still faces opposition and attempts to undermine its work and legitimacy. I reinstate Finland's unwavering commitment to the independence and the impartiality of the ICC. The court deserves our political and financial support, as well as cooperation essential for its functioning. As we support and protect the ICC itself, we must also do the same for those who collaborate with the court. Human rights defenders and civil society actors around the world are often on the front line, gathering evidence on violations of international law, and too often harassed and intimidated to prevent them from providing their findings to the attention of the ICC. Madam President, amidst the challenges of pandemic recovery, combined with the economic instability and food crisis caused by Russia's unlawful invasion in Ukraine, we cannot forget the existential threats posed by climate change and biodiversity loss. I welcome every effort to use international criminal justice to respond to these threats. In this regard, I would like to highlight the International Law Commission's draft principles on protection of the environment in relation to armed conflicts, commended this year by the UN General Assembly. This assembly also allows us to continue discussions on the Ecocide initiative. I thank you, Madam President.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and I invite His Excellency Mr. Alexander Schallenberg from Austria.
Madam President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. On the 24th of February, war has returned to Europe. Russia's aggression against Ukraine is not only causing unspeakable human suffering, it is also a direct assault against the rules-based international order and the very principles of the UN Charter. Russia is directly targeting civilians. Missiles and drones are used to destroy water, electricity, and heating infrastructure. The goal is as simple as it is cynical: to cause terror among the Ukrainian population. The UN Commission of Inquiry has confirmed that war crimes and grave violations of international humanitarian law have been committed in Ukraine, and that Russian armed forces are responsible for the vast majority of them. The pictures of Bucha and other towns will forever be engraved in our collective memory. One thing is crystal clear for me: the perpetrators must be held accountable. I'm therefore proud that Vienna is host to the UN Commission of Inquiry on Ukraine, that we train and equip Ukrainian war crime investigators, and that we actively support the efforts by the International Criminal Court. However, we all know that sadly Ukraine is not the only hotspot. crimes against humanity and war crimes are continuing and even intensifying in other conflict areas. With 4 ongoing trials and investigations in 16 situations on 4 continents, the court is more in demand than ever before. We commend the court's progress on Darfur. However, we regret that former head of state al-Bashir has still not been transferred to The Hague. On Afghanistan, Austria welcomes the court's decision to resume investigations. The Taliban want to drag the Afghan society back into the Middle Ages by excluding women and girls from most aspects of public life. And it remains deeply frustrating that situations such as in Syria, Iraq, or Yemen continue to be outside of the ICC's jurisdiction. Ladies and gentlemen, more than ever, we need to stand up for the universality of the Rome Statute. Therefore, Austria has further stepped up its support for the ICC. We seconded an expert to the Office of the Prosecutor, and we provided an additional voluntary financial contribution. A further financial contribution is on its way and will be announced shortly. Furthermore, we doubled our payments to the Trust Fund for Victims, and we contributed to the Trust Fund for Family Visits. Ladies and gentlemen, no man-made institution is perfect, and the ICC is no exception. It must continue to improve its efficiency and implement reforms. But let us not forget the reason for which the court was created: to fight for international justice, to hold those who commit crimes against humanity accountable, and to strengthen the rule of law. This is indeed a challenging task. For justice to prevail, we need patience and endurance. I can assure you that Austria will continue to do its utmost to assist the court in realizing its mission, which is so essential to all of us. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency, and now I invite Her Excellency Ms. Nanaya Mabuta from New Zealand.
E ngā mana, e ngā reo, tēnā koutou katoa. Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates and friends, greetings from Aotearoa, New Zealand. I welcome this opportunity to reaffirm our long-standing support for the International Criminal Court. As we celebrate 20 years since the Rome Statute came into force, global challenges have illustrated just how critical the court's role is. We believe the court is a central pillar in the international rules-based order, and that it ensures accountability for the most serious crimes. New Zealand's long-standing support for the ICC is a reflection of the values we uphold and how we seek to assert what we stand for. That's why I'm proud that we came forward as one of the group of countries to formally refer the Ukraine situation to the court. We've been unequivocal in choosing to stand firm with those who share our commitment to the international rule of law, accountability and justice. With the ICC facing an unprecedented workload, New Zealand is focused on ensuring the court is sufficiently resourced so it can continue undertaking its investigations and prosecutions independently and impartially. As part of our support, we've provided additional funding this year and deployed a specialised national expert to work with the court. Alongside these actions, New Zealand supports a regular budget that is reasonable and justified and allows the court to fully implement its mandate. We thank the Committee of Budget and Finance for its guidance in the lead-up to this year's Assembly. Once the budget is agreed, we are committed to paying our contributions in full and on time, and call on other state parties to do the same. New Zealand also acknowledges the important work of the Trust Fund for Victims to provide reparations and assistance to those who have been harmed. I would like to encourage other parties to consider supporting the Trust Fund for Victims through voluntary contributions. I would also like to thank the Registrar, Mr. Peter Lewis, for his years of service and his ability to lead the court in a cooperative, principled and steadfast manner. As we celebrate the court's many accomplishments over the past 2 decades, it's important that we look ahead to the next chapter. New Zealand will continue to support the ongoing review process to strengthen the Rome Statute system and enhance the effective performance of the court's mandate. We look forward to the positive changes implementation will bring, including on gender equality and geographic representation, which will need to be carried forward by all parts of the court and by state parties. Madam President, New Zealand takes this opportunity to note our support for future discussions around the concept of ecocide as an international crime to address environmental destruction at a global level. The Office of the Prosecutor plays a critical role in the effective functioning of the Rome Statute system, and as such, we would like to acknowledge the Office for their dedicated work and service to the court and its mandate this past year. New Zealand encourages parties that have not done so to consider incorporating Rome Statute crimes and principles into their domestic law, and we reiterate our unwavering support for the International Criminal Court and the Rome Statute system. Thank you, Madam President. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
I thank Her Excellency, and now I invite His Excellency Mr. Zbigniew Rau, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Poland.
Madam President, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, let me begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to the President of the Assembly, the President of the Court, and the Prosecutor for their efforts over the past year. Special thanks go to the outgoing Registrar, Mr. Peter Lewis, for his excellent work during a difficult period. The task for Mr. Lewis's successor will be no easier. And whoever they may be, I hope that he or she will manage the court's operations with equal efficiency while enjoying the trust and support of the state's parties. Madam President, hopes placed in the International Criminal Court have never been so high. Certainly, that is the case for Poland, and I believe it applies to the rest of the world as well. Russia's invasion of Ukraine has unleashed the first full-scale war on the European continent since World War II, with atrocities being committed on a vast scale. As Ukraine's neighbor, Poland feels the war's horrors and their effects on its victims with a special intensity. If the declaration in the Rome Statute that the most serious crimes to the international community must not go unpunished is not an empty vow, now is the time for the ICE to act swiftly, efficiently, and tangibly. Poland will continue by various means and at various levels to support the tribunal and the office of the prosecutor. But like other states parties, we expect results. Distinguished delegates, justice is due to all victims of conflicts which the ICC deals with, no matter where they occur. The court's current investigations cover practically every region in the world. This is a desired development and a source of satisfaction for states parties. However, for the court to be truly universal, to be able to prosecute international crimes committed by any person and in any place, the universal ratification of the Rome Statute by all states is needed. We should strive for such an optimal solution. For only then will the system of international justice based on the Rome Statute become airtight and effective. I would like to take this opportunity to appeal to all states that have not yet done so to become party to the statute. Madam President, the growing volume of investigations and trials requires even more resources. This comes at a time of economic crisis when the finances of most governments are deteriorating. But even so, I hope that during this year's session, the states parties will be able to agree on a budget that allows the court to cope with its heavy caseload. Madam President, let me conclude by calling on everyone to redouble their efforts to cooperate with and support the court so that justice is done. Justice is something the world needs now more than ever. We still have a long road ahead before we achieved that aim. But Poland believes we can get there if we work together. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency and invite His Excellency Mr. Urmas Reinsalu from Estonia.
Madam President, distinguished delegates, Estonia aligns itself with the statement made on behalf of the European Union and its member states. Estonia commends the International Criminal Court for its remarkable 20 years of activities. For that occasion, Estonia organized in May this year, in cooperation with the ICC and the Trust Fund for Victims, an online seminar on the role of the ICC in fight against impunity and delivering justice to victims. This year once again reminded us that international community must put special emphasis on ensuring justice and accountability for atrocity crimes and express our firm support to the role and mandate of the ICC. It is of utmost importance that the most serious crimes of concern to the international community as a whole would not go unpunished. The Russian, unprovoked and brutal genocidal war of aggression against Ukraine has triggered deep global concern. If we do not respond decisively to the Russia's aggression on the 21st century, the sovereignty and equality of all the states is under threat. In liberated areas, the Russian armed forces have left behind mass graves with dead bodies of civilians and servicemen, and torture chambers. The intent to inflict pain and cause suffering to the Ukrainian people is shocking and utterly inhumane, with no respect shown to human life and dignity. We commend the ICC prosecutor Khan for swift action and opening the investigation in the situation in Ukraine after submission of a referral by 43 states. Criminal proceedings have also been initiated in Estonia. We have joined, together with a number of other states and the ICC, the international investigation team established with the assistance of Eurojust. And we commend that Eurojust and the Office of the Prosecutor of the ICC have published practical guidelines for civil society organizations on documenting core international crimes, which is practical assistance in efforts to collect and preserve information and evidence that may become admissible in court. The Rome Statute reserves a unique role for the Security Council as it can refer situations to the ICC that would otherwise not fall under its jurisdiction, but the gravity of the situation requires action. We regret that Russia is holding the Security Council hostage with its misuse of veto. Veto prevents the Security Council from discharging on its important function entrusted upon it by the UN Charter. It has primary responsibility for peace and security. We urge states to refrain from using a veto in cases of mass atrocity crimes. As the ICC does not have jurisdiction over the crime of aggression in Ukraine, Estonia supports Ukraine in their endeavors to establish a special tribunal so that full accountability can be ensured, including of the head of state and its accomplices. The special tribunal will be complementary to the ICC, not in conflict with it. We should give our full support to the ICC to assist it to cope with the rapidly growing workload. Estonia was one of the first countries to respond to the request by the ICC and has seconded 4 national experts. We should take the financial needs of the ICC seriously, and we call upon all states to make their payments at the earliest possible time. Estonia also supports the increase of the budget for next year as suggested by the Committee on Budget and Finance to allow the court to efficiently fulfill its tasks. Madam President, we would like to express our appreciation and support to the work of the Trust Fund for Victims in offering reparations and assistance to victims, their families and communities. As a regular donor, we would like to repeat our call for all states to consider making voluntary contributions to the Trust Fund. During a monitoring visit to northern Uganda this autumn organized by Ireland and the Trust Fund, we were glad to ascertain the real impact of the work done on the ground and that it really brings benefits to the victims and local community. To conclude, we call on state parties to the Rome Statute to have not done so to ratify Article 8 bis on crime of aggression. We also call on those states that have not done so to ratify the Rome Statute to further strengthen the system of international criminal justice and enable it to provide truly universal protection. And finally, we are particularly glad to inform you that Estonia will nominate a candidate to the post of a judge of the ICC in 2023, and we ask for your serious consideration and support to our candidate. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency and invite His Excellency Mr. César Rodrigo Landa Arroyo, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Peru.
Señora Presidenta de la Asamblea de los Estados Parte, señor Presidente de la Corte Penal Internacional, honorables miembros de la mesa, distinguidos colegas y miembros de la sociedad civil que nos acompañan. Ante todo, quisiera aprovechar la ocasión para reconocer y saludar la destacada labor de la Presidenta de la Asamblea, embajadora Silvia Fernández de Gurmendi, así como la de la señora Vicepresidenta y Coordinadora del Grupo de Trabajo de La Haya, embajadora Katerina Sekentsova, en la preparación de esta 21ª sesión de la Asamblea de los Estados Partes. Hace más de 2 décadas, un significativo grupo de estados optamos por crear un tribunal que tuviera por misión la lucha contra la impunidad de los delitos más graves, aquellos de trascendencia universal para la comunidad internacional y para el género humano. Nuestro anhelo se materializó con el Estatuto de Roma y el establecimiento de un tribunal independiente y permanente, la Corte Penal Internacional, respecto a la cual el Perú reafirma hoy en día su sólido compromiso y apoyo. En el actual contexto internacional, caracterizado por el impacto de la pandemia de la COVID-19 y el estallido de los conflictos entre naciones en pleno siglo XXI, la Corte requiere más que nunca la decidida cooperación de los Estados partes, así como del apoyo de la comunidad internacional en su conjunto. En ese sentido, el Perú destaca la necesidad de mejorar la representatividad geográfica en los órganos de la Corte, promoviendo así la diversidad entre los grupos regionales que forman parte del Estatuto de Roma, así como contribuir a su universalización. En estas complejas circunstancias, el Perú ha demostrado con acciones concretas su mayor compromiso con la Corte Penal Internacional y su mandato. Pese a que nuestro país fue uno de los más duramente afectados por la pandemia en términos demográficos y haciendo frente a la crisis económica mundial, el gobierno peruano ha cumplido a la fecha con todas sus obligaciones financieras ante la Corte, resultado de un notable esfuerzo presupuestario que involucró a diversos sectores del Estado. Señora Presidenta, con gran satisfacción me permito comunicar la aprobación y ratificación por parte del Congreso de mi país y del señor Presidente de la República, Pedro Castillo Terrones, de las enmiendas al Estatuto de Roma de la Corte Penal Internacional relativas al crimen de agresión, así como la enmienda del artículo 8 del citado estatuto, adoptadas por la Conferencia de Revisión del Estatuto de Roma sostenida en Kampala en junio de 2010. Con esta ratificación, el Perú reitera una vez más su firme compromiso con el sistema del Estatuto de Roma. Asimismo, mi país ha participado en los grupos de trabajo de La Haya y de Nueva York, en los que se han abordado diversos asuntos relevantes para la Corte. En ese marco, el Perú ha expresado su respaldo a las recomendaciones formuladas en dichos mecanismos, las cuales tienen por objeto una mejor y sustancial performance de la Corte. Saludamos también el desempeño de nuestra destacada compatriota, la magistrada Luz del Carmen Ibáñez Carranza, como primera vicepresidente de la Corte. Mantenemos la firme convicción de que su dedicación y vasta experiencia contribuirán a una notable labor de la institución. De igual manera, el Perú les desea los mayores éxitos al señor fiscal Karim Khan y a los fiscales adjuntos, quienes han asumido con total compromiso y entrega sus funciones en la Fiscalía, procurando efectuar avances sustanciales sobre los casos sometidos a su evaluación. A modo de conclusión, señora presidenta, permítame reiterar nuestro reconocimiento a los jueces, la Fiscalía, la Secretaría y el personal de la Corte por su permanente dedicación. Expresamos también nuestro reconocimiento a las instituciones de la sociedad civil que acompañan la importante labor de la Corte y que comparten el común objetivo de lograr un mundo en el cual no haya cabida para la impunidad de los crímenes más atroces, un mundo en el cual impere la justicia, la paz y la seguridad de todos los pueblos. Muchas gracias.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and I invite His Excellency Mr. Ratislav Kačer, Minister of Foreign and European Affairs of Slovakia.
Madam President, while aligning myself with the statement made on behalf of the European Union, I have the honor to address the Assembly with additional observations in our national capacity. As we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the entry of the force of the Roma Statute, I would like to reiterate Slovakia's continuous support for the mission, integrity and independence of the International Criminal Court. I also want to express our sincere appreciation to the court and its officials, as well as the civil society, for their tireless efforts to end the impunity for the most serious crimes of the international concern. Madam President, this week, events serve as a stark reminder of how fragile peace among the nations can be, and that it should never be taken for granted. A full-scale invasion of one of the sovereign states into the territory of another sovereign state that constitutes a blatant violation of international law. It aims at the very core of the international system based on a resolution of disputes by peaceful means. Now, we understand all too palpably the importance of the international criminal justice, which admittedly sometimes is a bit slow, but eventually reaches all of those responsible for the most horrendous crimes of concern to the humankind. Justice is crucial to and firmly embodied in the notion of peace. Slovakia, as a neighboring country, feels particular responsibility for ensuring accountability in the situation east of our borders. We have supported and engaged in multiple efforts aimed at independent investigation of the atrocities in Ukraine. Among other things, Slovakia, along with other 42 states, state parties referred to the situation in Ukraine to the office of the prosecutor. Nevertheless, I would like to reassure all colleagues and partners that Slovakia supports sustainable and adequate allocation of resources to all ongoing cases and situations. Moreover, we continue to actively explore modalities of a very practical support for the fulfillment of the court mandate. The ICC has achieved considerable progress in its investigations and prosecutions in situations across different continents. However, the court cannot live up to the expectations without adequate support from the state parties. Along with the duty of cooperation pursuant to the Chapter 9 of the Rome Statute, we all bear a moral obligation to support the court and its integrity. This allows the court to conduct independent and impartial investigation and prosecutions. Justice must be done, and justice must be seen to have been done. Let us not forget thousands of individual victims. In this regard, we appreciate the work done by the Trust Fund for Victims, fulfilling both its reparations and assistance mandate. I'm pleased to announce that in addition to its regular contribution to the ICC budget, Slovakia will again provide a voluntary contribution to the fund this year. The Assembly shall adopt its recommendations to the judges on the election of the next registrar. In this regard, let me express my highest appreciation for the work of Mr. Peter Lewis. His leadership, commitment to the mandate of the court, and his excellent managerial skills have been instrumental in making the court a more resilient organization. Finally, we would like to encourage those states that have not yet ratified the Rome Statute or its amendments to do so. Universal ratification of the Rome Statute and its amendments lies at the heart of the promise of the ICC and international justice more generally. To conclude, Madam President, Slovakia wishes to recall its unwavering support to the court. It remained determined to continue working constructively with all parties towards a successful session of the Assembly and in a broader perspective towards an effective system of international criminal justice. Thank you very much.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I invite His Excellency Mr. Jan Borg, Minister for Foreign and European Affairs and Trade of Malta.
Madam President, at the outset, Malta fully aligns itself with the EU statement being delivered by the Czech Republic on behalf of the European Union. I'm greatly honored to address the Assembly of State Parties and would like to thank you, Madam President, the Bureau, the Secretariat and other facilitators in preparing and making the necessary arrangements for this Assembly and for presenting us with renewed opportunities to reform, to regenerate, as well as to reinforce the Court. Allow me also, Madam President, to pay tribute to the commitment and dedication shown by all the officials of the Court over the past year, and not least by President Hofmanski and the judges of the very same court. As we prepare to welcome a new registrar, I wish to pay tribute to the outgoing registrar, Peter Lewis, who leaves a solid legacy for the new registrar to build upon. During their first year in office, Prosecutor Khan and his deputies have shown remarkable leadership. I wish to once again reassure him and his office of Malta's unwavering support, which this year we sought to demonstrate also through a voluntary contribution. This year we commemorated the 20th anniversary since the entry into force of the Rome Statute and the setting up of a permanent international court, a court that seeks to bring to justice people responsible for the most atrocious crimes, individuals that national courts were unable or unwilling to pursue. This milestone was sadly overshadowed by the outbreak of a war of aggression on the European continent, the Russian invasion on Ukraine's sovereign territory. Increasingly, we receive reports of war crimes and crimes against humanity being committed not too far from where this Assembly is gathering. Against this challenging backdrop, we reiterate the Court's indispensable role in the rules-based international order and reaffirm our resolute commitment to our obligations under the statute. During the past year, the role the Court has played in ensuring accountability of individuals was as crucial as ever, with the Court's trial activity reaching unprecedented levels. Malta welcomes the opening of new investigations by the prosecutor, most recently those concerning the situation in Ukraine, where numerous state parties, including Malta, have jointly referred the situation in Ukraine to the Office of the prosecutor for investigation. There has never been a more pressing time for state parties to renew their commitment to the court, to reaffirm our beliefs and our adherence to the values and principles of the court. No efforts must be spared to ensure timely accountability for long-term peace and justice. Madam President, as an elected member of the United Nations Security Council for the coming 2 years, Malta notes that improvement in the relationship between the Court and the Security Council is certainly desirable. We know that so far only 2 situations have been referred to the Court. Malta also attaches great importance to the principle of universality and believes that progress can only be made through a concerted effort and commitment and continuous and meaningful dialogue. As state parties, we must also ensure that survivors' voices are heard and that their suffering is duly acknowledged. The salience of reparative justice, which is both a unique and a key feature of the Rome Statute, must not be undermined. It is for this reason that this year, to demonstrate our firm support to the ICC and its indispensable role in delivering justice to victims of heinous crimes, Malta has made a second voluntary contribution to the Trust Fund for Victims. Madam President, in closing, Malta reiterates its resolute commitment to the Court, its values and its principles. We encourage fellow state parties to look to the coming year as a year which is presenting us with a unique opportunity to play our role in further strengthening the Court and reinforcing its role in ending impunity and bringing perpetrators of war crimes, crimes against humanity, the crime of aggression and genocide to justice. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency and invite His Excellency Mr. João Gomes Cravinho, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Portugal.
Madam President, distinguished delegates, I am most honored to address the 21st session of the Assembly of States Parties to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. I wish to begin by stating that Portugal shares the views earlier expressed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, my dear colleague Jan Lipavsky, on behalf of the European Union and its member states. Nevertheless, I would like to underline some aspects that are relevant to my country. Portugal would also like to commend the President of the Assembly, the President of the Court, the Prosecutor and the Deputy Prosecutors elected during the last sessions of this Assembly, and to express our sincere recognition for their valuable contribution to the work of the International Criminal Court. Madam President, in light of the 20th anniversary of the entry into force of the Rome Statute that we are celebrating this year, it is timely to critically examine the achievements and challenges of the ICC. It is worth recalling that when established back in 2002, the International Criminal Court was called the most ambitious initiative in the history of modern international law. Today, we urge this Assembly to restate our collective ambition and express our unwavering support for the pivotal role that the ICC plays towards accountability for the most serious crimes that regrettably continue to threaten the peace, security, and well-being of the world. Madam President, as the world's permanent International Criminal Court, the ICC represents a historic achievement of humankind. It plays a central role in the fight against impunity, bringing justice to victims, and in the prevention of the commission of atrocity crimes, contributing in a very significant way to the advancement of the rule of law and stable, peaceful societies. In this vein, we must continue to actively work together towards the universality of the Rome Statute and the strengthening of the international criminal justice system, alongside other accountability mechanisms and national prosecutions. Madam President, the Assembly of States Parties is the right forum to collectively discuss additional and more efficient forms of cooperation and to seek to improve the decision-making processes and ultimate impact of the Court's work to accomplish its mandate. Portugal is committed to working with you and with every delegation towards a successful session of the Assembly of State Parties. Recent and ongoing events in Ukraine have more than shown us the need for a strong ICC and for all states to cooperate with the court. Without such cooperation, the court will not be able to carry out the mandate it was given by the Rome Statute. In this context, I would like to reaffirm our commitment to continuing supporting the work of the Office of the Prosecutor, including by providing national experts on a secondment basis to support such work. Let me end my statement by pledging once again the support of Portugal to the work of the International Criminal Court and by calling upon all states to keep the same ambition that was present at its inception back in 2002 towards a more peaceful and a fairer world. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I invite Her Excellency Ms. Hadia Lahbib, Minister of Foreign Affairs, European Affairs, Foreign Trade and the Federal Cultural Institutions of Belgium.
Madame la Présidente de l'Assemblée des États parties, Monsieur le Président de la Cour, Monsieur le Procureur, Monsieur le Greffier, Mesdames et Messieurs, distingués délégués. Je voudrais tout d'abord souligner que la Belgique s'aligne sur l'intervention de l'Union européenne. L'année écoulée nous a montré à nouveau toute la fragilité de la paix dans le monde. Malgré l'interdiction du recours à la force inscrite dans la Charte des Nations Unies, des conflits continuent à surgir pendant que d'autres s'éternisent. Aucune région du monde n'en est épargnée. La brutalité des conflits, l'horreur des crimes commis nous heurtent tous. La lutte contre l'impunité de ces crimes relève de la responsabilité de la communauté internationale tout entière. Il est d'abord du ressort des États de poursuivre ces criminels. Lorsque la Cour en est saisie, les États restent tenus vis-à-vis d'elle de coopérer à tous les stades de la procédure, ainsi que de respecter et de veiller au respect des principaux fondamentaux d'impartialité et d'indépendance de la Cour. Parmi les obligations des États figure également celle de payer à temps leur contribution obligatoire au budget annuel afin que la Cour puisse remplir correctement sa mission. Madame la Présidente, le soutien apporté à la Cour est indispensable, mais celui-ci ne peut être sélectif. Le procureur a eu recours cette année à une demande de contribution additionnelle financière et en personnel pour faire face à la charge de travail sans précédent à laquelle la Cour doit faire face. Mon pays a répondu à cet appel en versant une contribution additionnelle de 500 000 €. Il est important que ces besoins soient à présent reflétés dans le budget ordinaire de la Cour afin qu'ils soient couverts de façon pérenne. Cette année encore, la Belgique est impressionnée par les activités menées par la Cour et dont elle vient de nous faire rapport. Toutes les divisions de la Cour fournissent un travail considérable et rigoureux dont une grande partie échappe à la visibilité des États parce que relevant du travail d'enquête ou de coopération largement couvert par la confidentialité. La Belgique souhaite adresser à Monsieur le greffier de la Cour ses plus sincères remerciements pour le travail impressionnant accompli durant son mandat. Mon pays poursuivra la coopération directe et efficace mise en place avec le greffe de la Cour avec son successeur. Madame la Présidente, parmi les crimes les plus graves qui heurtent la communauté internationale, il y en a de plus particulièrement monstrueux et intolérables. Les violences sexuelles et les crimes commis à l'égard des enfants. Mon pays accorde une importance particulière à la lutte contre l'impunité de ces crimes. Nous encourageons la Cour à poursuivre ses efforts dans ce domaine et lui assurons notre pleine coopération et notre soutien. Les amendements au statut de Rome adoptés en 2010, 2017 et 2019 ont permis un élargissement de la compétence de la Cour aux crimes d'agression et à de nouveaux crimes de guerre odieux tels que le recours aux armes chimiques ou le recours à la famine comme une arme de guerre. Ces amendements ont renforcé le potentiel de dissuasion. Leur ratification par les États parties est essentielle pour les rendre effectifs. Un événement parallèle à ce sujet est co-organisé en marge de cette session par la Belgique, le Liechtenstein et la Suisse. Différents facteurs ont également des effets dévastateurs sur l'environnement naturel et il est indispensable de pouvoir poursuivre et réprimer les responsables de ces dégâts parfois irrémédiables. La Belgique travaille à la réforme de son code pénal et le Parlement pourrait dans ce cadre décider de renforcer ce volet du code. Mon pays réitère par ailleurs sa disposition à envisager une réflexion sur l'introduction du crime dit d'écocide dans le système du statut de Rome. Madame la Présidente, les victimes qui souffrent de ces crimes méritent d'être reconnues et d'obtenir justice. Nous leur devons une attention particulière. La Belgique est fortement attachée au rôle de la Cour à l'égard des victimes. Pour concrétiser cet attachement, mon pays s'engage à poursuivre en 2023 son soutien financier régulier au Fonds d'aide aux victimes. Nous appelons les autres États partis à faire de même. La récente mission d'observation en Ouganda, organisée par l'Irlande, nous a montré avec force l'importance du travail du Fonds et de ses partenaires sur le terrain. Enfin, je souhaite saisir l'occasion de ce débat général pour rappeler aux États l'initiative qui vise à élaborer un nouveau traité multilatéral en matière d'entraide judiciaire et d'extradition pour la poursuite devant les juridictions nationales des crimes les plus graves. En renforçant le travail de poursuite au plan national, c'est le principe de complémentarité qui sort renforcé. Un événement parallèle est d'ailleurs organisé à ce sujet en marge de cette session par la Belgique avec l'Argentine, la Mongolie, les Pays-Bas, le Sénégal et la Slovénie. Je vous remercie.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement and invite His Excellency Mr. Tobias Billström, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Sweden.
Madam President, I am honored to address the Assembly of States Parties. Sweden aligns itself with a statement made by the Czech Republic on behalf of the European Union and its member states. Allow me first to express my sincere appreciation to the Court and all its officials. Your work continues to make significant contributions to ensure accountability for perpetrators of the most serious crimes and justice for victims. I would in particular like to thank the Registrar, Mr. Peter Lewis, as he reaches the end of his 5-year term at the ICC. We commend his relentless work for the effective functioning of the Court, his tireless efforts towards gender equality and a better working environment at the Court. Civil society organizations were instrumental in the creation of the Court almost 25 years ago, and they continue to be crucial for the Court and its states parties. It goes without saying that threats and intimidation directed at civil society organizations cooperating with the Court are unacceptable. Madam President, Sweden has been a steadfast supporter of the International Criminal Court since its establishment. The fight against impunity is integral to a rules-based international order, and the ICC is the key institution in this quest for accountability. Only a truly universal court can fulfill its mandate completely. We urge all states that have not yet ratified the Rome Statute to do so, to give victims everywhere access to justice. I am pleased to announce that Sweden early this year deposited the instruments of acceptance of the Kampala amendments, including the crime of aggression. Madam President, the Court is faced with an unprecedented workload, as it is currently active in 16 situations. In early March, Sweden was one of the 39 state parties that referred the situation in Ukraine to the prosecutor, who promptly proceeded to open an investigation that encompasses any past and present allegations of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and genocide committed from the 21st of November 2013 onwards. During the year, a number of state parties, including Sweden, have also provided the Office of a Prosecutor with voluntary financial contributions and seconded personnel. It is important to underline that these contributions are not earmarked solely for one specific situation, but should be seen as an exceptional measure to assist the Court in fulfilling its mandate. The court can only fulfill its mandate if we put it on a long-term sustainable financial footing. We call on all state parties to pay their contributions in full and on time. Late or unpaid contributions severely hamper the work of the court, prolong investigations and trials, and delay justice for victims. Madam President, the Trust Fund for Victims is a cornerstone of reparative justice for the victims of the most serious crimes. I am proud to say that Sweden has been the largest contributor to the fund, with total contributions of approximately 3 million euros during the last 3 years. However, this is not enough. The fund depends on voluntary contributions to fulfill its mandate. We call on others to join in contribution to this important work. Madam President, states' full cooperation with the court is essential for its ability to carry out its mandate. Witnesses must receive protection, outstanding arrest warrants must be promptly executed, and states parties must share the burden of enforcement of sentences. Sweden stands ready to share its experiences of relocating witnesses with other interested state parties. Madam President, the review process of the Rome Statute system is still ongoing. Many of the recommendations of the independent experts have been assessed and is implemented over the past 2 years. We salute the considerable work and significant achievements of the court in this regard and welcome further efforts to enhance the governance and management of the court, including its working culture. We must continue to engage in this process and work together for the benefit of a stronger, more efficient and more resilient court and Rome Statute system. Madam President, the ICC was established to prevent and investigate the most serious crimes, regardless of who commits them. The court's heavy workload, which is a reflection of the dire times we live in, shows how much we need it. We look forward to working constructively with all state parties, officials of the court, and members of the civil society to achieve a successful outcome of this assembly. Under your able leadership, Madam President, I thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement and now invite His Excellency Mr. Gabrielius Landsbergis, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Lithuania.
Dear colleagues, while aligning with the statement by the EU, let me focus on a few issues of particular importance to Ukraine and all of us. This year marks 20 years since entering into force of the Rome Statute. What was once a vision of a few has now grown into a fundamental pillar of international criminal justice and a beacon of hope for the world's most vulnerable and oppressed. Lithuania's support to the ICC is unshakable, as we affirm our commitment to defend the principles of the Rome Statute and ensure accountability for the most horrendous crimes. The restless devotion of the International Criminal Court, its judges, the prosecutor, and the whole team deserves our sincere appreciation and gratitude. To help tackle ever-increasing workload, Lithuania has supported additional financial contributions and secondment, with full respect to its impartiality. We have also contributed to the Trust Fund for Victims that ensures reparations for harm suffered by the victims of crimes and their families. Lithuania calls on all states to fully honor their financial obligations and further contribute to the work of the court. Madam President, I address you from Ukraine, where for over 9 months Russia's unprovoked aggression has horrified the world by complete disregard to the most basic fundamental international norms. The ICC has been among the first to react, and I commend the prosecutor for his active involvement in a joint effort with Ukraine and the joint investigation team, of which Lithuania is a proud member. While we expect and encourage the ICC to continue its pivotal role in prosecuting the war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity committed in Ukraine, we have to admit that the court does not have a jurisdiction to prosecute the crime of aggression. Since aggression is the supreme international crime from which all other crimes flow, such jurisdictional gap risks to become a major source of injustice. Sustainable peace would be unimaginable if key political and military masterminds who lead this aggression were allowed to escape justice. It is thus our strong belief that the Special Tribunal for the punishment of the crime of aggression against Ukraine has to be established to complement the role of the ICC with regard to the crime of aggression. We also consider that the most preferable and feasible way to establish such tribunal is through the resolution of the UN General Assembly. Its universal representation would bring global legitimacy to the tribunal and go a long way in addressing crucial issues of impartiality, immunities of state officials, and cooperation with the tribunal. We also support the establishment of the interim prosecutor office that would be responsible for collecting crucial evidence of aggression in complementarity with the ICC and Ukraine's prosecutors. There is no doubt that serious legal and political questions still lie ahead, but that should not discourage us from rapidly forging ahead. Justice delayed is justice denied, and we are all in agreement that Russia's unprovoked aggression against a sovereign nation cannot be left without an appropriate legal response. Our failure to act, however, would not just mean that those responsible for the atrocities would evade justice. It would further embolden Russia and other aggressors to undermine international order and put us all at even greater risk. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I invite Her Excellency Ms. Catherine Colonna, Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs of France.
Chers collègues, Mesdames et Messieurs, 2022 marque les 20 ans de l'entrée en vigueur du statut de Rome. C'est pour répondre aux besoins universels de justice pour les victimes d'atrocités de tous les continents qu'a été créée la Cour pénale internationale. Car il n'y a pas de paix sans justice. En cette année anniversaire, la France réitère son plein soutien à la Cour, première juridiction pénale internationale permanente et plus que jamais nécessaire. Car 2022 a aussi été marqué par l'agression de la Russie contre l'Ukraine, violation manifeste des principes les plus fondamentaux du droit international, mépris complet de l'ordre international fondé sur des règles. La guerre d'agression dont le Kremlin porte l'entière responsabilité s'accompagne encore aujourd'hui d'exactions, de meurtres, d'un ciblage délibéré des civils, de tortures, de viols et de déportations. Les responsables de ces crimes, qu'ils les aient commis, ordonnés ou planifiés, doivent rendre des comptes aux victimes et à la communauté internationale. C'est pourquoi nous appuyons l'enquête du procureur de la Cour, comme celle des autorités judiciaires ukrainiennes, par des contributions financières et des moyens techniques et humains. La Cour doit être soutenue partout où elle agit. À La Haye, comme sur le terrain, nous savons pouvoir compter sur la qualité des hommes et des femmes qui œuvrent pour un monde plus juste. La France présente la candidature de Nicolas Guilloux, un poste de juge à la Cour en 2024. Je suis persuadée que sa solide expérience au sein des juridictions internationales bénéficiera à notre institution centrale dans la lutte contre l'impunité. Votre soutien nous est précieux. Mesdames et Messieurs, du haut de ces 20 ans, la Cour pénale internationale est une institution encore relativement jeune. Une institution qui, pour se montrer à la hauteur de la lourde mission que nous lui avons donnée, doit être défendue aujourd'hui et renforcée dans la durée. Collectivement, mobilisons-nous pour que sa réforme permette de gagner encore en célérité et en efficacité. C'est un chantier essentiel auquel la France prendra toute sa part. Je vous remercie.
I thank Her Excellency for her statement, and I invite His Excellency Mr. Ioannis Kasoulides, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Cyprus.
Madam President, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I am grateful for this opportunity to address the Assembly of State Parties on such an important occasion, the 20-year anniversary of the International Criminal Court. During these last 20 years, the International Criminal Court has gained international recognition for its independence, impartiality, as well as the high standard of its judicial, prosecutorial, and investigative activities. I am sure that all of us remember the sense of responsibility that fell upon our collective shoulders on the 1st July 2002, when the Rome Statute entered into force, signaling the beginning of the establishment of the ICC. It was a historic moment for justice. It was also a defining moment for the victims of the most serious crimes faced by humanity, those of genocide, war crimes, and the crime of aggression. Although the Rome Statute makes it very clear that the primary responsibility for prosecuting such crimes lies with states, the ICC is regarded by many as a life vest when faced with the inability or unwillingness of states to act. Moreover, since its inception, the ICC has managed not only to contribute to the development of international criminal law, but also to increase legal certainty in jurisprudence on the issue. In addition, as a direct consequence of its role, and despite the fact that it is a judicial body and can only contribute to the legal sphere, the ICC has become very relevant in the area of peace. The importance of the court is evident if one looks to its continually augmenting workload. The Office of the Prosecutor has opened through new investigations in the last 12 months alongside the rest of the cases and open investigations it is dealing with. What is significant here is the fact that two of these, those pertaining to Venezuela and Ukraine, have been opened following a referral by state parties, highlighting once more the prominence given to the court. Another indication of the trust attributed to the work of the court is the high participation of victims in the proceedings. In fact, the ICC has been a valuable lifetime for victims through the continued implementation of reparation and assistance orders. As a strong supporter of the ICC and its work, Cyprus welcomes its active engagement in the review process, aiming at enhancing the effectiveness and performance of the institution and the wider Rome Statute system. We will continue to work for the universal ratification and full implementation of the Rome Statute and urge all parties to do the same. My country's commitment, which is shared by other state parties, to protecting the rules-based order from existing threats and uncertainty, and supporting the work of the ICC is unwavering. What is urgently needed is to encourage acceptance and cooperation between the court and non-state parties, including the United Nations, in order to protect judicial and prosecutorial independence and integrity. Madam President, no institution can function or fulfill its obligations without adequate financial resources. We are honored that Cyprus will remain as facilitator for the 2023 budget. Rest assured that we will continue to act as an honest broker to achieve the best end result, given the need for the court to deliver upon its ever-increasing mandate. It is inspiring to see that despite the difficult financial environment and the projected hardships that our countries will face, especially during the winter months, state parties have not stopped contributing to the court and the trust fund for victims of atrocities. This lies as a testament of the importance of the work carried out by the ICC. As many have said before, there can be no lasting peace without justice. If we remain committed to our aspirations, to ensuring that all manner of war crimes and crimes against humanity are investigated and prosecuted, and to fighting impunity, then just maybe we will have a chance at peace. Thank you.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I invite His Excellency Mr. Santiago Cafiero, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Trade and Worship of Argentina.
Señora Presidenta, como Canciller de la República Argentina les envío un cálido saludo en el inicio de esta Asamblea de Estados Parte. Este año se cumplen 2 décadas de la entrada en vigor del Estatuto de Roma, que sigue siendo la piedra angular del sistema de justicia penal internacional. Recientemente tuvimos el honor de contar en Buenos Aires con la visita del presidente de la Corte, quien fue recibido por el presidente de la Nación, Alberto Fernández. La Corte Penal Internacional nos demuestra que es una herramienta fundamental en la lucha contra la impunidad, la promoción de los derechos humanos y la consolidación del Estado de Derecho en el plano internacional. Los tiempos actuales son un desafío para el multilateralismo en general. La preservación de la independencia judicial es fundamental para que el tribunal pueda cumplir plenamente su mandato. Señora Presidenta, experiencia argentina demuestra la extraordinaria utilidad del derecho internacional de los derechos humanos para que ningún genocida resulte impune. Mientras trabajamos para fortalecer el sistema del Estatuto de Roma, no podemos olvidar que los Estados tienen la responsabilidad primaria de investigar y enjuiciar los crímenes más graves de trascendencia internacional, y de hacerlo según el principio de complementariedad, que es la columna vertebral del Estatuto. En esta oportunidad quisiera mencionar la iniciativa relativa a la cooperación internacional en la investigación y el enjuiciamiento del crimen de genocidio, los crímenes de lesa humanidad y los crímenes de guerra, impulsada por Argentina, por Bélgica, Eslovenia, Mongolia, Países Bajos y Senegal. Señora Presidenta, Argentina es consciente de la necesidad de hacer justicia a las víctimas, quienes tienen derecho a la reparación. Una sociedad es más democrática cuanto más cerca está de los valores de memoria, verdad y justicia. Desde el juicio a las juntas de 1985 hasta hoy, más de 1.100 represores de la dictadura argentina recibieron su condena. Con esa convicción, nuestro país seguirá apoyando firmemente la labor de la Corte y la independencia judicial. Muchas gracias.
I thank His Excellency for his statement, and now I give the floor to the last speaker of our today, who is Lord Ahmad of Wimbledon, Minister of State for the Middle East, South Asia, UN, and the Prime Minister's Special Representative on Preventing Sexual Violence in Conflict of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland.
Mr. President, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, I welcome this opportunity to address the Assembly on behalf of the Government of the United Kingdom, and I pass on the best wishes of and a message of support from the UK Foreign Secretary. On its creation, the ICC was described by the then UN Secretary-General as a giant step forward in the march towards universal human rights and indeed the rule of law. It was a watershed moment in international justice, intended to help tackle the culture of impunity that characterizes so many armed conflicts around the world. A court of last resort, the ICC was ready to take action when a country could not or would not investigate and prosecute those alleged to have committed international crimes. For our part, the UK remains absolutely committed to this vision. We remain determined that the court should be an effective means of ensuring that all victims of the most serious international crimes have access to justice. And we also remain determined that all would-be perpetrators know that they can and will be held to account for their actions. Since the ICC's establishment, we have seen notable successes in situations under the court's purview. The United Kingdom has been proud to support the work of the court. In addition to contributing to the annual budget, we enforce sentences, we protect witnesses, and we are proud to support the work of the Trust Fund for Victims. It was as a great supporter of the ICC that in 2018, the United Kingdom, along with other like-minded state parties, called for action to reform and indeed strengthen the court. We therefore welcomed the establishment of the independent expert review, recognizing that the court could improve in a number of fundamental areas, from leadership to efficiency, from working culture in the organization, to its expertise. The resulting report was the basis for a process for strengthening the court itself, and we thank the court and the review mechanism team for taking this important work forward. And we also welcome that progress has been made. However, important work, as we all recognize, still remains to be done. Despite, indeed, because of the many pressures the ICC faces, now is not the time to step back. This year, we look forward to focus on the implementation of key recommendations, building on the improvements already made. Indeed, this will be crucial to continue strengthening this important international court. We also look forward to action to ensure the introduction of an effective and practical tenure policy at the court. These steps will allow us all to continue to build a more effective and efficient ICC that ultimately serves its objective and is best placed to deliver justice for victims. This objective is one that remains both timely and relevant. When we look towards Russia's brutal, illegal, and unjustified invasion of a sovereign state, Ukraine, and the subsequent overwhelming evidence of atrocities against the civilian population, including abhorrent allegations of crimes of sexual violence, has once again brought into sharp focus the need for both accountability and justice, and the role of the international community in holding perpetrators of crimes to account. I assure you, both the Foreign Secretary and I welcome the court's work in investigating these allegations and the ICC's ongoing work to ensure all victims have access to justice wherever crimes take place within the court's jurisdiction. Since its creation, the ICC has been instrumental in ensuring that impunity is not the default. That is a role I know the court will continue to play, and it's an institution we, the United Kingdom, are extremely proud to support. In that regard, it is only right to end this statement of mine by paying tribute to a real pillar of this institution, the Registrar Peter Lewis, who steps down after 5 years of distinguished service to the ICC. On behalf of the United Kingdom, we thank Peter for his excellent work, his stewardship of the court, often through what have been quite trying and difficult times. And we all wish him well in whatever comes next. Looking ahead, we of course look forward to also supporting the next registrar to carry on this important work. Thank you so much.
I thank His Excellency for his statement. And now we are coming to the end of our meeting. I would like to thank you all, and I thank all the distinguished speakers today for their important statements and the support pledged to the court in the fulfillment of its mandate. Tomorrow, we will start with a statement in person of Her Excellency Ms. Rose Mutombo Kiese, Minister of State, Minister of Justice and Garde des Sceaux of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Unless there are any requests for the floor, I see none. This meeting is adjourned.